and welcome to this episode of Trish Rock TV, an energy shift, changing energy, shifting perceptions. Today's guest is the divine and very connected Siobhan Brady, psychic, medium, healer, singer. Siobhan's spiritual awakening began in February 2011, and it was nothing short of a baptism of fire. It happened literally overnight, where she went from being a normal mum to hearing God, angels, and past loved ones speaking to her. This was very exciting, but brought also a lot of upheaval and sometimes painful but necessary changes to her life. Moving ahead on her path was sometimes very difficult, but she persevered with the help and support of her angels. She went on to learn Reiki and become a Reiki master inside a year, and began doing readings and healings and angel card readings. She also trained in reflexology, Hopi ear candles, Indian head massage. Now, 7 years on, Siobhan teaches psychic and mediumship development classes, all levels of Reiki, and does shamanic Reiki, holds healing circles once a week, and takes one-to-one clients for healings and card readings, and continues to study for her own development as she goes along her own path. It's so important to teach and learn as we go, so that we are all developing all the time through the great guidance that there is for all of us when we tap into it. It's my very great honour and pleasure to introduce my beautiful friend, Siobhan. Welcome to the show, Siobhan.
Oh, thanks, Trish. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's amazing, because I would have written that bio quite some time ago, you know, and even when I hear you read it back, I'm kind of going, oh my goodness, what a journey, and the emotion that I still feel, you know, because obviously you're writing a bio, so you can't put everything in there, but when you say certain things and you read them or you hear them back, you kind of go, oh, I remember that. That was such a, you know, it's been an amazing journey. It really has. Yeah.
Absolutely. And only 8 short years. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, so thrilled to have you here and to introduce you and your beautiful work to people who may not have seen it before. So it's very exciting. So,
Yes.
So you had your awakening in 2011, but before that, like as a child, as growing up, were you ever noticing any gifts that you had?
No, I was wild. I have to say, I was a wild child. Always, always singing, always dancing, always like, you know, having fun and that kind of thing. And but I when I look back now, you know, as an adult, and I can see, like, and I've learned so much obviously through my experience, I can see that it was different, because I was always called, oh, this is the wild one, this is, you know, she's the mad one in the family, you know, Siobhan is the one, oh, if you want anybody to do anything, ask Siobhan, could she do anything, that kind of thing. And so I suppose I was always a little bit different, but no, I can't say that I would have had any spiritual experience. I can look back and maybe notice 1 or 2 things now, but nothing that you'd say, oh, I had a gift since a child. The only gift that I would say I had since a child that I would have recognized was my singing. And
your free spirit, I guess, and your joy of life.
Yes. So I would have always been that way. And I remember people used to say to me, like, oh my God, like when I'd be out at weekends and people would think I was drunk, and I'd be like, no, I'm actually just having a soft drink, like a Coca-Cola. I'd be just like so happy and high in myself, you know, and that's the way I always was, you know. So that was my default setting, I suppose.
Very high vibration from the word go. So in 2011, that must have just been, you know, I mean, a lot of people grow into their spirituality, whereas you were just like one night, bam, you're into it. So tell us a little bit about that, when that happened, and, you know, how life shifted for you afterwards.
Yeah. Basically, I was I sing with a choir, and I was singing with this choir. We were doing a TV show, And I'd been on the phone with my children saying goodnight to them or goodbye to them, and I was walking into the restaurant of the hotel that we were staying in, and the table, where there was 30 odd of us in the choir, I looked up the table, I couldn't see any chairs here, but I saw a seat beside a gentleman who had joined the choir maybe 6 months previous. And my brother was also in the choir. Okay. And he had told me about this man, that he had gifts, or that he could give messages from the spirit world. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. I'd have an interest in it, definitely.
Yeah.
So I ended up sitting beside him at the meal. And not long into the meal, some of the girls up the other side of the table went, oh, do you not want to sit with us? And I went, and there was chairs. I had not seen them. So I was meant to sit beside the gentleman. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we got talking, and he told me about a pendulum that he had. He said, you know what I do? And I said, well, my brother has mentioned a few things. And so he says, I have a pendulum, and he was talking about a book that he had. So he said he'd give me the book. So I went to his room. And when I went to his room, he put me sitting on the end of the bed and took out this pendulum and started talking to me about grounding energy. And I was like, okay, and okay, whatever. And then this pendulum, and it was a beautiful rose quartz pendulum. I've never forgotten it. And so he was telling me, you know, you can ask it questions. So it started spinning out round my hand. And I'm looking at him as he was standing looking at me. And I'm going, he was like, oh my God, your energy, Siobhan, is unbelievable. And I was like, oh, good, that's great. And then it started quivering over my hand. And
wow.
And then he started bringing messages through from my grandmother. And just to make a long story short, the next day, I still had the pendulum. I couldn't give it back to him. I kept holding it, and I kept rubbing the rose quartz. So he told me I could hold on to it. So I was going around with it in my pocket the whole next day, rubbing it, and it broke.
Oh,
it broke
no.
in two pieces.
Oh no!
And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. And he goes, oh my God, your energy. He's like, oh, your energy is just off the charts. So, so then that was the Saturday, and on the Sunday, then we were singing on the show, and we didn't get through. So we're on the bus coming home, and I'm sitting talking to my friend Anne, and all of a sudden I'm going, I can hear this voice, but it's like it's here, going, Mary, Mary, Mary. Mary. And I'm kind of looking at her as if she should hear it as well, but she's still talking. And I'm going, okay. And so I didn't think much of it, except my energy now had changed from the conversation with the gentleman on the Friday night. My all day Saturday, I was very high in myself, very happy, that kind of feeling. And a little bit, I would say, ungrounded now that I know what it is. And so I got home on the Sunday, went to bed, got up with the kids for school, came back, and I lay down to take a nap, and I was woken up by my uncle's voice, who's passed over, in my ear. And I just sat up and I went, ah! And then I realized that Mary was my grandmother, his mother. So that's how it started. And I started writing, channeling, asking my friend for help. And then he said, we'll have to get you some grounding crystals, because it was completely out of my body. So I came back on the Sunday from the hotel. Then this was the following Friday. He took me to an angel shop in Cavan Town, which is, you know, the main town near where I'm from. And we walked in there, and my grandmother at this point now, it was in full-scale conversation with me, and had been the whole week. So it was constant.
And were you seeing her as well?
There, lovely lady.
Yeah.
And we went looking for crystals, and I was looking at crystals, and then I was brought over to a shelf, and I picked up a chalice.
Okay.
And I turned around, and I was doing this over the shop to where my friend and the lady were standing. And I said, because I was going, what's happening? And the lady said, oh, she said, you've changed, your whole persona has changed. You look like a wizard.
Oh.
And I kind of went, okay. And I put it back on the shelf, and I walked over to where they were standing. Another lady had joined them at this point, and I walked over, I stood there for about 5 seconds, and then I just turned completely, couldn't stop myself, back over, picked up the chalice, and I started going like this across the shop to the wall. And now I was starting to get afraid, because I really didn't understand what was happening.
Oh, God.
And I said, what's happening? And the lady who had come in, who owned the shop, said, you've been brought to the light. Are you feeling emotional? And I started to cry down on the floor. I fell on the floor, started crying, and I was still holding the chalice. And I felt like I was down there for ages, but I kept hearing a voice saying, I've got you, I've got you, I've got you. And then my friend eventually kind of snapped out because he was glued to the spot. He came over and he picked me up, and I just took he must have taken the chalice, and I put my hands on his face and I looked right into his soul, and I knew something huge was after happening.
Wow.
So then kind of my left brain kicked in, and I was like, I have to go get my kids from school, which I did. So it all seemed very strange to the people in the shop. And I had bought and paid for crystals somewhere in between all of this happening, so I don't have a recollection of that. But
wow.
We left, we walked up the street, and I asked him to reverse my car out. And as he was doing that, I looked up and I said, thank you, God, for whatever that was. And
wow.
God answered me, and he said, you're welcome, my child.
Wow.
So that was kind of the start of it. And
very big start to it.
Yeah.
You know, that's a massive occurrence. Yeah, some people just get little snippets of that, and then it grows. But and
it builds.
do you actually see the people as well when they're talking to you, or it's a voice at this point?
It's more audient for me. I will see here, but I will know with people if there's spirit with them.
Yeah.
And I might be able to describe them, but I'm not physically seeing them. I'm seeing them here, or I'll get mannerisms as well. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So, you know, that's a big change to a life, as you said, just a normal mum going about her business, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're getting not only your loved ones around you, but you started obviously then getting messages for other people.
Yes. And the thing was then, though, that when I started telling my family, I wasn't believed. Yeah. It was, well, especially the God thing. And
it's the hardest thing, isn't it? Because you immediately want to tell the people close to you what's happening to you, but not everybody can take it in. Not everybody can take it in.
Yeah, so it's taken, like, because the journey then went in another direction, which it had to go in, and I was assessed and everything by the psychs, and I was put into a psych unit for 3 days. Well, I went voluntarily. Yeah. And then the journey became a completely different one, where I became a shadow of myself, where I was like nobody that I had ever thought that I could ever be, and I couldn't nearly speak. I didn't care what was happening. Yeah. But it brought me then into a new level of grounding myself and getting really back into touch, I suppose, with certain areas of myself through the silence, I guess, and the darkness, in order to make me fight for myself, which is what I started to do then. And by the end of 2012, I was starting to come back, and I was off meds, because they put me on meds despite no symptoms. So I had a lot of anger to deal with then as well, and poor me kind of thing. Yeah. But eventually then I started to work through that, and then I just took off. And so it's been an ongoing revelation.
Absolutely. So for the people watching this who are starting to, you know, notice, or their gifts are becoming more obvious to them, you know, it's just really good advice to, you know, you don't have to tell everybody about it, because not everybody is going to accept it. But, you know, we have to accept it on a personal basis first, and grow it. And the people who do have your back will show up.
Exactly. Yeah. And it has taken me, though, the 8 years nearly to come full circle with talking again, that God is speaking through me, you know, and I've only recently again sat back into that. So I suppose part of the growth, and I say everything that I've been through, I would do it again. I wouldn't ask to or want to, but I would do it again, because it's gotten to me to where I am today. So, and my strength and everything now, like it's like if people try to tell me that I'm mad or whatever because God is speaking through me, that's okay. That's where they're at. You know, I know He is, and that's just where I'll sit, you know, and I have to do.
That's powerful, and just, well, it's sitting in your truth, isn't it? Yeah. So Siobhan, what do you think you are here? How do you feel that you are serving humanity? What do you think you are here to do?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I've asked God this so many times, you know, and
Mm.
I know he used to say to me as well, open your heart, Siobhan, and I'd be going, sure, it is open. And then, you know, he or the angels would say to me, open your heart, and I'd go, sure, I'd be like arguing with them. But it was about opening my heart to myself, right? Because I'd say to them, you know, I'm a good person, I want to help people, but it has to be about yourself first. So what I've learned about myself, and how to be like, treat myself with love, compassion, and kindness,
Yeah.
is then how I can bring that forward into the world. And the message that God keeps saying to me and through me is love. And I'm here to help people, I suppose, as I just say to people, it's to unravel everything that we have put in place, either through decisions that we have made, or how we've allowed ourselves to be treated, or indeed treated ourselves, or, you know, because when I went into that dark place within myself through this journey, I really, really became so much more aware of the light.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to be in that place. And I'd say to anybody, like, the amount of people that come to me kind of going, sometimes I think I'm going mad. And I'd be like, oh, been there, been there, done that. You're not going mad. You know, it's just because when the energy comes in, and it can come in so high, and really just push you out of where you are. That's what happened. That's what happened with me, because it took something like that to really wake me up.
Yes.
So I feel now that that's part of my journey here, is to help other individuals do the same. And
Yeah.
I know God wants me to spread his word in whatever way that comes. So the angels, God, everything. I'm just here now as a channel for love
The message
and
of love.
help and
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's a great purpose, isn't it? And, you know, what a beautiful way to have this life experience. And, you know, you obviously was something you agreed to do when you came in this experience. And, you know,
Yes.
I think there's a lot more coming. I think it's only just the beginning for you
Yeah.
with
Because
this work.
I was in Italy there last November, and it was kind of from then that I re-stepped back into speaking about God. I had been doing little bits, but I hadn't actually fully embraced it and kind of went public with it.
Yeah.
And while I was in Italy, I had to write down, it was like I was writing my own contract with God.
Wow.
And I was writing the words, and I was crying my eyes out, and I was kind of going, no, this can't be me, you can't be, you know, and God he made me keep reading it. I must have read it about 10 times. And I was like a child, kind of going, please, 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 I want to go to sleep. This was like after midnight or something. And I was just like, and that was huge again. That was another big, like, kind of like another layer being lifted, or the lid that I had kind of put back in place being taken off.
Yeah.
And then slowly, since last November, then I've kind of just had where I'm just going with it now. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I've really noticed that too, that's really becoming a bigger theme through what your work is. So that's nice to know the reason. And I guess there was a lot of fear around that too after what happened the first time. You know, you were deemed mad and put on drugs. So
Huge.
you know,
Yeah.
there is that fear. But you have that self-love and that confidence now to not be influenced by what other people say, because you know your own truth, and that's really a great place to be. It's not egotistical, it's not arrogant, anything like that. You know who you are and what you are being.
Yes.
And you know, nobody is going to kind of sway you with that anymore like they did in the beginning. So I guess you needed that journey really to get here, to really, because it's not only your family and ones around you that can incite that fear. I mean, you're going now quite globally
Yes.
with people that don't even know you, who are very quick to criticize. So, you know, to have that confidence is very important.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And, you know, and to be able to stand, as you know, in myself with it. And, you know, even like I've done live channeling on my Facebook page where God is speaking through me. And I know there's been some kind of, you know, it's not all positive, let's say. But
Yeah.
that's okay, because it's not me that's speaking. I may see the comment as Siobhan, and Siobhan may be hurt by that, but it's not me that's doing the talking. So in other words, you know, that's okay. Say what you will, and that's your stuff. And Siobhan will deal with whatever Siobhan needs to deal with, but God is still the one that's doing the talking. So
and yeah,
that's
don't taking it personally. Yeah.
Yeah, and for every one person that may react negatively, you have 20s and 30s and 40s that are really reacting positively, and they're the ones that really need it, you know, and
Absolutely.
that's what it's all about. Yeah.
And you know what they say, you should really celebrate when you get your first hater, because you know that you've got a whole other audience that absolutely are loving what you do.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you know, but say 5 years ago, if I had done that, that would have crumpled me, you know. So
yeah,
you know, now I'm more understanding, obviously, and you know, we're learning so much as we go through this path. And
absolutely.
it did take this 8 years of this journey for me to get to the understanding of that as well, and myself. So yeah, it's very exciting, I have to say.
It is.
It's scary, but it's way far more exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thrilled when I first met you to find out that you sing while you're doing your onstage medium work, and I'm like, wow, I find that so fascinating because I haven't seen that before. So tell people a little bit about your shows and you know what happens at those and why you love doing them, because I know it's
I do, yeah. And actually it's a year ago now since I did my first one. So it's about this time last year that I did my first show.
Wow.
So it was coming at me all the time that I'd love to do like a show, but because I'm different and because I have so many gifts, I wanted to kind of bring, well, God was showing me this as I went along, and I was kind of going, okay. So so the show is called This Little Light, which is, the theme song is This Little Light of Mine.
Yeah.
But when I talk about the light, I talk about it being God's light.
Yeah.
So the light that we all hold within us is God, and that's part of, and I will speak about that at my show. So when we open up the show, I have a song, and it could be Arms of the Angel, it could be, they kind of vary. It could be You've Got a Friend, it could be I have a few songs that I sing. There's a lovely song by Tom Baxter, All of Me. You know, there's a few songs like that. So I'll sing a song, then I usually introduce myself to the audience and give a little bit of my background, and then I lead everybody into a beautiful meditation. Whoever shows up for the meditation, so it could be angelic, it could be, so whatever comes in, and it's the energy of the audience that kind of, the channeling then will come through me for whatever is needed. So that's always different as well.
Yes.
And then I give messages, angelic or mediumship messages, and there has been a couple of times where God has spoken through me there as well, which I probably will say will be happening more now, because I was kind of still sitting back a little bit. Even say the last show I would have been early there in, was it May? Could have been May. So I haven't done one since. Okay. So I have another one coming up soon now. But so I'd say there will be more channeling of God coming through. So that's how the show kind of goes. It's some messages, then another song. There's about 4 songs over the course of the evening. So we have an opening, we have a closing, which is This Little Light closes the show, and then we have 2 songs in between, and we have messages then in the middle.
I love that, because it really becomes more of a show rather than just a mediumship demonstration from stage, and that is just so different. And I think what a lot of people don't realise, because it's the same for me when I'm doing online readings or whatever, when you've got a group of people, even, you know, doing a monthly general reading, something like that, you really do tune into the energy of those people who are either listening at the time or are going to listen. And you can never really plan the message because it depends on the energy of the crowd. So every show would be absolutely unique for you.
Yeah, and it's hugely healing, you see, as well. So you have certain people who when they, you know, some people are only looking for a certain thing, so they're not really looking for the whole healing aspect, or they don't understand it. And this is what I'm trying to get across to people. It's not about receiving a message, it's about sitting in the energy. And some of the healing that takes place at those shows is just unbelievable. People are crying in their seats. Like, and I could be just after starting to sing. It's not even about me. It's about the words of the song. It's the energy of the songs.
Yes.
It's the energy in the room that the angels and God has created.
Yeah.
And it's the collective. And this is why it kind of annoys me as well when people go, oh God, you're singing at that, so what would you be going to that for? You know, that kind of thing. Because people think they just want answers and they just want quick fixes.
Yeah.
But they need to realize that if you come and sit in this space,
Yeah.
and even if the person beside you gets a message and you don't, you can be sure that collectively some of that energy or some of that message is also for you. But people, I know people are waking up more, but they really need to start seeing the bigger picture here, you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, you're really spreading love through that tone in your voice too. And it goes straight to people's cells. And that's what I love about music too. It really affects me. But sitting in a room of like-minded people has a beautiful energy that affects me as well. But it affects people at a cellular level. So they may not, you know, notice an immediate kind of aha result that night. But as the days follow, there's shifts that go on in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's even like, you know, people seeing you maybe on Facebook or whatever, or that you start popping up everywhere. I had a lady here the other day and she was just like, you seem to be popping up everywhere, and I just knew I had to come to see you. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing as well. It's something, it's energy finding other people and
you're drawing
helping them pick up or heal in whatever way they have to as well. Yeah.
And of course, God is orchestrating all that anyway. So all the perfect people are always there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So have you thought about, you know, where this is going to lead you, or is it just a case of putting one foot in front of the other right now and being in the moment really and seeing where it takes you rather than planning?
Yeah, I kind of sit between both of those because when I go back 8 years ago, right, when this started and God was speaking to me and I was like channeling all the time, he was telling me things like that's going to happen in my future. And it's like, you know, oh yeah, right, whatever. And I'm now starting to see that some of that is happening, you know. So,
yeah.
And I know that I do sit very much with kind of like, I know he's leading and guiding me, so I don't want to get ahead of myself either. But I'm still kind of thinking of the things that he has said to me about the traveling that I will have to do and the book that he wants me to write, and, you know, going to these other places and spreading his word. And I've seen myself like standing in front of hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yes.
And I still don't know the full context of what I will be doing, but I know it's all to do with God and spreading his message in some way.
It will all unfold in time, won't it? And I think sometimes and this is a great message for people watching as well, if we, you know, get those 20 or 50 steps ahead, we can just freeze in fear
yes.
But, you know, if you let it unravel and let it unroll, then every step is always
just opens up, you know, because I used to say, I'd be writing things down and the angels would be saying to me, you know, things are moving very rapidly now. And I used to seem to be writing this down all the time. And then I'd be going like, oh, come on, I'm ready. Like, you know, what's happening? I don't think it's moving fast, blah, blah, blah. And then when I'd feel that I was being brought to that higher place, or when I was meditating and maybe the angels were like that, I felt I was physically rising up to meet God, I was kind of like, maybe I'm not ready. So rather than getting ahead of myself, they were just showing me that I do say, you know, God does actually know what he's doing, because even when I was in Italy and I was writing stuff down, that's one of the sentences I wrote, because I was going to God, I don't know if this is for me. And he said, do you think I don't know what I'm doing? And that just brought on another big surge of crying. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's surrender really, and just letting it unfold. Yeah.
Well, I wish I lived in Ireland. I'd love to come and see one of your shows, but you know, there will come a day very soon when we will connect, and I can come to one of your beautiful shows.
Yeah, I could be over there. You'd never know. I could be in Australia.
You might be. So for the people who live near you in Ireland, what part of Ireland do you live in?
I'm living in Mullingar, which is in the Midlands.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. So people around that area, or anybody even listening who's going visiting over there or knows anybody over there, your next show is in October. You want to tell us
the
a little bit
18th,
about
I
it?
think, the 18th of October in the Imperial Hotel in Dundalk.
Right.
So this will be my first time to go over there, and I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, and then I'm hoping to have another show here in Mullingar before Christmas. So I haven't set a date for that yet, but it will be December, I'd say. So
Oh, how
that's
wonderful.
how I feel about my year, with the shows. Yeah.
Well, I've got all the links here for people to click on if they're interested in that show, and also all of your social media pages and where people can connect with you. And I'd really encourage you, if you're listening, to go and connect with Siobhan. She does the most amazing, beautiful work, and there is that beautiful, loving energy that comes out of everything you do and say, Siobhan, and you probably don't notice all of it, but I notice all of it, and that's really what's reaching people. Sometimes we get so caught up on the words and the practical stuff of things, but just your presence heals people, and sometimes we forget that all we need to do sometimes is just be. And our greatest gift to everybody and the planet.
Yeah, that's so true. And I am starting to learn that, because it's like less is more. And when you have the divine energy just coming through and you get out of the way and let that happen, well, then it can only be good, can't it?
Magic happens. Magic
exactly.
happens. And so you also do one-to-one healings and coaching, I guess, with people.
Yeah, I do them over Zoom as well. I do them online as well. I'll do them over Facebook chat. I'll do them over, Zoom or video links, any of those things. Yeah, and the healings as well. They work very well. And I'm also a shamanic practitioner now as well. So I probably didn't have that on my bio because I wasn't finished it at the time that I wrote it. Yeah. So I do shamanic healing as well, and a lot of voice work would come into that as well, where I chant and sing and rattle and drum, and I have sound bowls here as well that I use in my healings. I actually love my healing work, I have to say. I love doing healings for people, and just even seeing them when they come in and when they actually get up to leave, and the transformations, and people just kind of going, oh my God, I feel like a completely different person, because they've just let go of so much. So, and the more open they are to letting go, well, the quicker they'll move, and it's just beautiful to see people transform, because they're doing the work. It's like they're taking responsibility, and that's why they come to me in the first place.
Yes.
And it's just, as you said, it's the magic happens, It's great.
And that's part of people waking up, isn't it? Taking responsibility for, their life and how they feel. And
and I'm sure you're seeing that as well, Trish, in your work. The more people, they are wakening up. They may not be aware of what's happening, but it's the wakening up, and it's just finding then their own little niche or path that they need to follow.
Absolutely.
Because I just say there's so many healing modalities, and there's so many people offering different therapies. We're like this big, huge jigsaw, and we all have a piece of it. So we're all finding that piece and that piece for ourselves. So I just find it fascinating, to be honest.
I find it fascinating too. It's a massive big jigsaw puzzle, but I mean, it really, really thrills me when people take their power, they just take their power back, and they're like,
yes,
that's it, I'm done being a victim to life. I'm going to take my power back. What can I do? Well, the first thing I can do is I need to heal or open up or come back to self, and it's really beautiful to see, because when they're ready, the changes happen so fast.
Don't they? Yeah, it sometimes I'm just mesmerized by the transformation. Literally, like it can happen in one session.
It's
children especially, oh my God, they're amazing.
It's so beautiful doing work that you're passionate about, isn't it? It's such a joy, and I know that everybody you work with would be absolutely thrilled, and everybody sitting in your audience, whether it's online or on your channels or on your shows, I think everybody is absolutely blessed. So is there any last words you'd like, or advice you'd like to to give the people who are listening today, you know, on their spiritual journeys?
Yeah, it's just there when we were just talking there, the last little bit we were mentioning, it was almost like I could hear the words like, give yourself permission.
Yes.
Give yourself permission to be all that you want to be, and to follow through on your dreams. Or even if you feel like, you know, that I mentioned earlier, oh God, I think I'm going mad. It's just this whole new surge of energy. And my God post today, God is talking about this whole new energy. And he's telling us to step right into that. So give yourself permission to be whatever it is, you know, and, you know, you can only be wrong. And if you use that kind of wrong as a stepping stone into the right, well, then it's still not wrong. So it's just about give yourself permission to be, to live, to open up, to live, to see, to recognize, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So just give yourself permission.
Yeah, have that curiosity, that free spirit in life, and yeah, say yes to yourself. Yeah,
exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us your beautiful
thanks so much for having me.
Journey.
Oh, it's been beautiful. Yeah, because I don't know you that long, but yeah, there was an instant connection. So thank you. Yeah,
absolutely. We could talk for quite some time.
I'd say we could.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody who's tuned in today has absolutely loved the conversation too. So for all the listeners and people watching, all of Siobhan's links are here. Please connect with her. If you're in the area, go and see one of her shows and actually experience the show. It's not seeing it. Experience the beautiful energy of her shows. And yeah, definitely. If you've seen this interview, definitely go up and say hi and say, "Oh, I'm so pleased to meet you." So thank you. And thank you everybody for watching today. And I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of Trish Rock TV. Bye for now.
Thank you.